Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing some canning. Y'all come with us on our journey when we talk about some dry canning, and we're going to do canning of some squash with onions in it. Who knows what else we're going to get into, but y'all come with us. So before we get into today's video, I need to go ahead and give you a couple of disclaimers. I am a rebel canner. What that means is not everything that I do is approved by the USDA. So if you choose to can with these methods, then just know that they are not approved canning methods. That doesn't mean they don't work. It just means that you're taking your own risk with this. The USDA does not approve of oven canning in any form. They also, surprisingly, do not approve of canning any sort of summer squash. Now, if you have winter squash like butternut and spaghetti squash and things like that, they do approve that as long as you do not puree them. If you puree, then you are again rebel canning and outside of the USDA guidelines. So just so you know, we are not canning with USDA approved methods today. So guys, we found a good deal on the large bags of flour. So what do we got? We just have regular all-purpose flour. Now guess what you can do with this? You can dry can this in the oven. And to do that, we bought this. Guess what? I bought the wrong jars. You cannot can with a plastic lid that has no seal. So when you're looking at your jars, even if they say you can can in them, make sure you read the specifics a little bit closer, because like I said, this set of 4 jars said it was good for canning, but this is never going to seal. So let's talk about how you would dry can your flour in the oven. So what you would do, since I'm not going to be able to show you, is you would fill this jar all the way up, leaving a 1/2 inch headspace. Okay? 1/2 inch. And then you're going to tap it down as you go to make sure that it is full. Don't put your lid on yet. Turn your oven on to 200. Set your jars on a pan, cookie sheet or something like that, and let them run in the oven. Now, for this, you want your jars to preheat with the oven, okay? Because if you take these jars and you just throw them in the hot oven, they're going to bust, okay? You do not want your jars to bust. So you want the jars to slowly heat up with the oven. Once your oven reaches 200 degrees, then you're going to leave these jars in the oven for another hour, okay? So make sure that you do that. Make sure you let them stay in the oven for an hour after it reaches 200 degrees. Why would I dry can flour? Well, y'all may not know how many bugs and things are allowed to be in our products that we buy. So your flour can actually have eggs from insects and things like that in it. And if you don't take it through that heating process, you will not be able to store it long term. So that's why you want to dry can it. If you buy just small amounts of flour, you don't have to do that. But if you buy in bulk, you want to take and separate it out into usable portions and heat it. Send it through that heat process, or stick it in the freezer. And ours has been in the fridge for a little bit. That's why I was wanting to get it out of the refrigerator and get it dry canned so that I can have my refrigerator back, because sweet corn's coming in and I need the refrigerator space. So once your jars have heated for the full hour at 200, now you've already let them come up to temp with the oven coming up to temp, and you've left these in there for a full hour at 200. Slowly pull out your jar one at a time. That way the jars stay hot. And put your lid on it, and then set it on the counter on a towel and pull each one out one at a time. Wipe down the throat of the jar, wipe it down before you put your lid on and your ring on, and you're good. After a little while, that jar should seal. You may or may not hear the ping, but the middle section will go down. So as long as it's sealed, you're good. If it didn't seal, you want to use it first. It's still flour. It's still going to last. It's not going to go bad, but use your jar that didn't seal first. All right, so let's move on to our next thing. Next thing is going to be getting squash ready to can. And we're going to can this up. So what do we have in here? We've got squash, regular squash, straight neck yellow, crook neck yellow, and some scallop squash. We're going to cook all this together and can it all together. Now we've washed it and gotten all the dirt off. So the next step is to process it. So how do we process it? Well, we cut off the ends. We've got it really washed well, so there's no dirt on here. Let's see if I can cut this with my wrist. It's a little hard because this one's a little bigger. Okay, so I'm just going to cut it into decent sized chunks. Okay, now can I fry this once I've canned it? Probably not, because it makes it kind of more mushy, but you know what it is good in? It is good for casseroles and things like that. And we're actually going to cook this with our onions already in it. Just going to cut it down the middle again. Cut it in two halves, basically. Now if it's small, you just cut it in half. You don't have to put it into quarters. But these are a little bigger. I'm going to go ahead and bring the pot over. Alright, so we're going to cook them in this pot. So as I'm cutting, I'm just going to go ahead and put them in here. Alright, the scallop squash I am quartering and then cutting off this section here so that it gets the stem end and the root end. And then we will dice it up. I'm going to cut it in half this way. Alright, so I've turned the scallop up on a side. I'll cut it in half that way. And then I'm going to lay them flat and cut those up into chunks as well. The main thing that you're looking at here is trying to keep all your pieces even sizes. That way everything gets done at the same time. So I let this one go a little longer than it should have. So it's got all the big seeds, so we're just going to cut them seeds out. That's got most of them right there. Okay, so now we're just left with the actual meat of the squash. So back to chopping it up. We're going to fill this pot with water, just covering the squash next. Alright, so we have our pot full of water. It is just covering the squash, as you can see. So we're going to let this start cooking. Now, I am going to add onion as well. Now we are basically cooking this till it is semi-tender. That's the word, semi-tender. First things first, fill up a pot for water to boil. Start the water boiling. You can also just run a clean water cycle through your coffee pot if you want. Then wash your jars. All right, this is done. So the larger pieces are still needing some cooking, which will happen in the pressure canner, but the smaller pieces are done. The onions are also done. So we are waiting on the water to boil. We have washed our jars and we're just waiting on the boiling water. We are hot packing today. So that means I do not want to put this in cold jars. I want to heat these jars up. Okay, so instead of doing like a whole pot of boiling water and putting them in there, we're just going to pour hot water in the jars, and that will heat the jars up, and once they're hot to the touch, pour it out and fill it. We'll do one at a time that way. Yes. Alright, we're going to set our jars up. We're going to put hot water in them, let them start getting hot. When they get hot enough, then we'll pour one jar out at a time and fill it up with the hot squash. We will let that sit for a minute. That way that heat radiates up the jar. One jar ready. So let's go ahead and start filling it up. Oh yes, 1/2 of a teaspoon of salt per pint, 1 teaspoon of salt per quart. We are doing pints because it's just my husband and I, so we don't need a lot at one time. So you fix what your family needs. Make sure to leave plenty of headspace. And don't forget to go around the jar and get the bubbles out. Make sure everything is covered with the liquid. Wipe the rims. Put on the lid and the ring. Whoops, wrong lid and ring. Finger tighten it. And let's do the next one. Sorry, if I had it ready, I'd let you have it. I have no clue. Oh, that's the new ones. Okay. Make sure there's plenty of liquid in your jar. And leave that head space. Put your lid and ring on after you wipe the rim. And carry on until your pot of squash is empty. Let's check back in later. Alright, let's get our pressure canner ready to use. You need to put water in the bottom of your pressure canner. My pressure canner calls for 1.5 quarts of water in the bottom. So I am filling up a quart jar and pouring it in. Now let me do the 1/2 quart. And we'll add it also. All right. Now, my pressure canner has this thing in the bottom, and I put it up upside down, so let me flip that over. And then we're going to set our jars in here. Now, I don't like to run a partial canner, but we're going to run a partial today. My canner will take 9 jars of mixed regular mouth and wide mouth, 8 jars of wide mouth, 10 jars of regular mouth. That is pints. Take 7 quarts. So as you can see, we're a couple short, but we're going to go ahead and get this thing going anyway. We are going to put our lid on. Let's see if I can do it today one-handed. Nope. Alrighty, let me put the lid on and I'll be right back. Alright, we are back. So I'm going to turn my pressure canner on. We are going to let it start heating up. Now when it heats up, this will come up. It'll seal it off. And then I'll put this on the valve. Okay, when I put this on, this will start rising up in pressure. All right, so now we wait. All right, we want it to be at 10 pounds of pressure according to this gauge. Actually 11 pounds of pressure unless you have a weighted gauge. The weighted gauge is 10. Now, let me tell you what you can do. Do you know how to test if this is accurate? Your local extension office has a test kit. So you can take this and they will tell you if this gauge is accurate or not. Just a little tidbit of information for you. We just had this one tested. We also bought a new one that we had tested as well. So there we go. We know that this is actually correct. Make sure you test yours. And y'all, it's climbing. So now we watch and wait. Once it starts boiling, and once it reaches pressure, we will pressure for 25 minutes for pints and 30 minutes for quarts. Now this is a recipe that I am trying, that I found online. I have not tested this yet, so you might want to do your own research about how long you want to pressure can it. But I am going with the 25 minutes for a pint and 30 for quart. All right, you know the drill. We are above 11 pounds of pressure, so we start our timer now. Actually, you start it when it reaches the 11 pounds. I have turned down the heat to make sure that this stays back on 11. We do not want it getting too much pressure in there. I don't think it'll blow up, but you never know. As long as you stay out of this range, you're okay. That's why I never leave the house or go outside for more than a minute or two with the pressure canner running. So we've turned down the heat. The timer is set. 25 minutes for those pints, 30 for quarts. And we will be back when this is finished. All right, guys, we have 1 minute left. When my timer goes off again, we're going to turn this off, and we're going to let it take all the pressure off on its own. We are not going to help it. Helping it sometimes causes siphoning, which is where the contents of your jars come out during the cool down process, which happens way too fast when you help it depressurize. So we will not be doing that. But we will wait till it's all the way back down to 0. We will take this off, and then we will carefully open this and take our jars out, set them on the counter on a towel, and we will show you all that when we get there. And there goes my timer. We are now off and cooling. All right, everything has cooled down. It is on 0. There is nothing coming out of here. There is nothing coming out of here. So we are safe to open the canner. Now, when we open the canner, we still need to be careful because everything in here is extremely hot. And I don't know that I can do it one-handed. So hold on. Always open the canner away from you. That way that steam does not come out on top of you. You do not want to open it and the steam come this way. You want it to go out the back. So tilt that lid that way. All right, then get your tool, the jar lifter, and take jars out. Refresher course, this is the handle. That is the part for the jars. All right, see if I can do this with my right hand. Securely grasp the jar, squeeze at the top, pull the jar out, and set it on a towel. Repeat the process over and over until all of your jars are out. Now, one thing I didn't mention, you want to give them a little bit of space. Ooh, that's hot. Jars are hot, guys, so don't touch them with your bare hands. But make sure you put a little bit of space in between them jars so they'll cool. Wide mouth, make sure you either have a wide mouth jar lifter or a really good grip. Alright, now after a while we'll hear pinging and we'll be able to come in and tell if the tops are down all the way or not. So we will show you the final product later. Now, we reused some lids. They may or may not seal. Most of the time they seal. We inspect the lids before we use them to make sure that there's nothing wrong with the inside. However, you know, you can reuse lids, but just know that you may get a fail or two, okay? All right, we'll chat back later when these are cooled off. Hopefully they'll be pinged. All right, guys, it's the next day. All of our canning is finished. It is all cool. So we're going to go through and we're going to check tops. This one is down. Notice when I press it, nothing happens. This one's down. When I press it, nothing happens. This one is down, but this one doesn't feel as firm, but it's down. So I'm going to mark that one. It's down. It's sealed, but it may not be sealed well. This one is down. This one is not sealed well. Hear that? Same for this one. Not sealed well. And that's a new lid right there, guys. So that did not seal well. And that one is sealed good. That one is sealed. So I'm just going to leave it over there. Now these two, I'm going to put these in the fridge and I'm going to use these first. Because this one is just iffy. Let me see if I can take that off. Hold on. Yep, come right off, see? So, I don't know what happened with this lid. Well, there's something right there. I didn't see that when I canned. Brand new lid though, guys. So your new ones will fail just like your old ones. So don't think that just because you used an old one, you're going to get failures. And if you use new ones, you won't get failures because that's a new lid. This one's a reused lid. This one has been used several times and it's sealed. This one has also been used several times and it's sealed. And guys, it does not have muscadine jelly in it from 19. But it has been used several times and these sealed. This is a brand new lid. It did not seal. Let me see if I can get this one open. Seal comes off with the lid, guys. I mean, so yeah, that one is not sealed either. The contents in here are good for now. So they will be used in the next few days in the refrigerator. So anyway, guys, always check your canning after you're finished. You can reuse lids. Just make sure they're good. And then definitely check those seals after it's finished. And check the seals on the new ones, guys, because that's a brand new lid right there. Brand new lid. Yep. All right, guys, if you like what we're doing, make sure you leave us a like. Make sure you leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to see more of or see less of. Always subscribe. Hit that notification bell to where you get notifications when we put out new videos. We put out new videos on Fridays. That's Mark's Fireside Chats. And then we try to put one out on Tuesday, but sometimes it's Wednesday, depending on how busy we are. Anyway, guys, share, share, share. That's how you help us the most. If you want to know where we got something, let us know. We'll let you know where we got it. And guys, we will see you on the next video. Bye, guys.